There's an old saying, basically, that God is not mocked, meaning you can't fool God. You can't pretend to want to have a spiritual life. You really can't pretend to anything, because the truth of your need, your want, your desire, your belief, your hope is completely understood. You can't fool God. To me, the difference between someone who realizes truth, who realizes God, who connects to the highest truth, is someone who has shown basically how much they want it, how responsible they can be for it. It's not occasional desire. It's not a once-a-month thing, or once a week, or even once a day. It's not ritual, it's not performance, it's something else. How do you knock loudly enough on those doors? How do you ask deeply enough? How do you seek sincerely enough that the universe pays attention to you? I can tell you it's there all the time. It's watching you all the time. It knows exactly where you're at. In a sense, it doesn't care. It absolutely loves you, but it, in a way, leaves you alone. The universe that we live in is a manifested state. Manifest means out of nothing something emerges. Out of nothing you have arisen. And you have come into this universe carrying with you the truth of being. You are absolutely an expression of and one with the Absolute. But not knowing that is the cause of suffering. We are all born with a mind, and the mind, in a certain sense, is a computer. And the computer has a certain set program which says, protect my creation, protect this body, protect this being at all costs. Do not let it be harmed. And then it throws everything at you. And the computer is going, how do I survive? How do I keep eating? How do I keep breathing? How do I have advantage? How do I find strength? How do I find all the things I need to survive in the world and to triumph in the world and to be a co-creator, if you will, of this manifested universe? How do I do it? And it begins to give you all sorts of skills. It creates this thing called learning. The computer appears to learn. It learns all about the manifestation around it, as best it can. It goes to school. It has a lot to learn to function in the social structure that the world has provided. It has things to learn that are factual. There are things to learn that are emotional. In a way, some things that are psychic. How do I prevail in this world that is really, really structured to create life, to preserve life, and ultimately to destroy life? So here is this mental process going on, wanting to preserve you at all costs when at some point you become very aware that the universe has no desire ultimately to preserve you. It will do the exact opposite. It will completely, absolutely destroy you. And the computer model doesn't know what to do with that. But if it did, then it wouldn't function in the way that it needs to function in the world. If it's going to build and strive and have and acquire and be this massive thing, or even just a gentle, sweet little person tending a garden, whatever it is, this computer is working to get that done, and then life is doing things like hurricanes and floods and wars and pestilence. It goes on and on. So there is a kind of disconnect inside that goes, why am I programmed to survive when I'm not going to survive? It doesn't make sense. It's not logical. But it is part of the truth of being. If we thought that our presence here was meaningless, why would we do anything? If we walked around knowing we're going to die, knowing we're going to have a limited run, we would act very, very differently. And the world would not be as fully realized as it is. This is part of how it works. It's necessary. On the other hand, for people given to what you might call philosophy, this question comes up, why? What for? What is this that we're going through? Why do this? If the end is so bleak, or apparently bleak, why build and construct? But luckily, there are only few people who think that way, or we wouldn't have this world. But those people who think that way try to find the answer as deeply as they can. And, in truth, those who really, desperately want to know the truth, it will be shown to them. It's not hiding. It's just that the computer becomes so prominent in our existence, the thought process that conditions all these emotional experiences is going 24/7. It's programmed for 8 hours to kind of quiet down. It doesn't stop, but it quiets down. It goes through a different cycle called sleep, and we have these dreams that kind of come up and go down, and we have all this stuff that's going on. It's always working, and what happens for most of us is that we don't find any way to get away from that computer. We don't find any relief, we don't find anything at all that gives us peace. The computer is always working. Some of the saints of ancient times decided to sit still and see what this computer was. Just sit there and watch it. How do I frustrate the computer enough so that I can see through it, see behind it, understand it in a way? And what comes from that pursuit for a few people who really are serious about it is an enormous amount of what we will call wisdom. The vision of the truth. And the truth appears to be pretty constant through religious and spiritual realms. Be still and know that I am. If you can quiet the computer, step back from it, disengage, or just observe it, you begin to be aware of that which is observing. You begin to be aware that there is something benefiting from, partaking in, and deeply aware of all of this stuff that's going on. Deeply aware. And as you get quieter and quieter, you realize that's who you are. You are not the noise. You are not the thoughts. You are not even the need to preserve yourself. None of that is actually you. It's part of the structure of what you know to be you, part of the body-mind complex, but you are this massive, unformed stillness. And the quality of that stillness partakes of something we know in the body as love. It loves us. It loves the life we're in. It's grateful to us for going through all of the stuff it takes to build and manifest time and space. It has a big investment in time and space, or we wouldn't be here. It seems to want this to happen in some huge way. And so we're all brought into the game, and the computer's programmed, and here we are doing it. And unfortunately, there is a component in all of this that is built into the system, and it's called suffering. Suffering is inevitable because there is a conflict between wanting the computer and the mind-body thing to go on forever and the fact that it can end in a second. So there's an existential terror that comes along with being human. But when you allow yourself to be still and know that I am, that terror subsides. And you start to look deeply, deeply into the truth of being. And the truth of being reveals 1, truth, 2, beauty, 3, reality. Truth, beauty, reality are within you. They are the very thing that you have come to seek in its manifested form. And the world around you is beautiful, real, and embodiment of truth. But very few people see that. Poets see it, mystics see it, certain spiritual seekers find it. Most people are totally caught up in the computer. I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to get famous, I got to make this money, I got to do that, I got to worry about my future, I got to take care of the kids, I got to da da da. It goes on and on and on, and you don't know how to escape it. You don't know what to do. And so there is this endless fear and frustration and drama and difficulty, punctuated by a few moments of good television. Whatever it is that gives you a relief from how hard it is. But then there are those of you who are sitting in this room who have said there's another way. I want to be in a place where I can sit still and let the world still down with me. To actually be in a place of Sangha, of teaching. Where I can sit and just feel the I am. Feel the stillness. Where do you get to do that? Where? There are not very many places, church, synagogue, mosque, temple, shrine. And if you go there once in a while, you know, the High Holy Days, Easter, whatever it is that's your thing, you know, you get a taste of it, you go, oh God, I should do that more often. But then the noise comes in and you don't do it more often, you just go back into the suffering of the day-to-day experience. And it's awful. It's really awful, and you all know it's awful. One thing, and it's a very strange quality that brings you into that stillness, that can bring you into it, is terrible suffering. It stops everything. It stops all the noise. It sets up the big existential question of being. It just says, why? Why? It's so painful that you almost can't live in the world. You have to go in. And what's so interesting to me, I look at a lot of Rudy's students, you know, who are now, we're all getting old. We've been around for a long time. We're all getting old, and we're suffering like mad. there's this stuff being thrown at us that's like, oh my God, what's that about? I thought if I lived a beautiful spiritual life, I would have nothing but reward and pleasure and joy and whatever it is you expect from the world. And what's happening is they're taking everything away. And what's that about? Why would the universe take it away? Well, I'll tell you why. Because it's going to take everything away. And secondly, if you observe it with some clarity, you will go, ah, that pain is a gift. That pain takes me to a place that I could not get to otherwise. How do you go to the pain that is, in a sense, the doorway to the truth of being? It stills you, it quiets you, it makes you aware of yourself. It's a hard path, but it is a very real path. And our great teachers, Christ and Buddha, they've all been on that path. They've told us we're going to go on that path. It will get you there. Now I suppose there are saints who somehow just willingly let go of their worldly attachment and find peace. But Rudy had this amazing line which sits with me all the time. He said, you can't let go of what you haven't had. So I personally think you need to have a completely full life in order to truly let go of life. To have not lived life and to let go of it is no achievement. We may have talked about this last week, but what does it mean to let go of sex if you haven't had sex? What does it mean to let go of a huge career if you've never had a career? What does it mean to let go of a house if you're still barely renting an apartment? You know, it's like, what's the lesson? It's like, have it all, be part of this enormous creation, and then find the peace within it to complete your job, your stewardship, if you will, of your body and the world around you, because that's what we are. We're stewards of our lives. Let it go. Retreat into this place of truth, beauty, reality. And then what happens? It's really, this is the best part. Assuming you're still here, you see everything in a way as though it's been taken away, and you see what's left. What's left is a radiant universe that you do not have to own or possess. It's simply a gift to observe. You see love, you see drama, you see beauty in everything, absolutely everything. You discover that all suffering is really the loss of, or fear of loss of, beauty. How can they take this beautiful child from me? How can they take the beauty of breathing away from me? How can they take the house away from me? Because it's not yours. It's not yours. It's just there temporarily. Enjoy it while you have it, and when it's gone, enjoy what you have after that. That's the lesson. The great teachers, the great mystics have learned that the whole universe is created out of beauty for you. For you. Every ounce of it, every bit of it. And if you try to hold on to it and possess it, you will suffer. That's how it works. Why will you suffer? Because you can't have it. You can only observe it, enjoy it, appreciate it, be grateful for it, and let it pass through the system, because that's all it does. Everything passes through the system. Every day you wake up, things arise and go away. They arise and go away. The difficulty is we grab at stuff when it arises. We grab at the thing we want to hold on to. You know, you take 2 mouthfuls of strawberry ice cream, my guilty pleasure, and then you want another one and another one and another one, and a quart's gone. You know, you can't, then you get sick. It's not good for you. You take a little and enjoy. Take what arises. Things arise like you get a phone call from someone you don't like. Well, there it is. It's in your life. You can't just say, it's not there. I mean, you can, now you can see on the phone who's calling and not answer. It's not, in a funny way, spiritual life, an evolved life is like that. A thought arises and you can see down on the bottom, you can see this is a thought you don't want to engage. And you simply don't answer it. It's gone. Some of those thoughts, they keep coming back. And finally you realize, I have to engage this. And you take it on, and you take it on consciously, meaning openly, without judgment, with acceptance, and with love. And you deal with the thing that has arisen, you process it, and it's gone. It's done with. The things you haven't processed are going to start to add up. They're going to become constipating for you, and you're going to find yourself in a lot of pain somewhere along the way. So what you learn to do is just go, so, this is here, this is here, this is here. You do it, you take care of it, you move it on, and you keep doing that. And if you get really good at it, it's going to come at you really fast. You won't believe how fast it comes. And your job will be, okay, 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 okay. And if you're really good, it's just simple. If you're not good, it's like, oh my God, how can I do it all? And you get overwhelmed and exhausted, and you kind of have a breakdown. You don't have to do that. You can just take it simply. Take it simply. One of the great things in life to help remind you to do this is this kind of experience, a class called Sangha, a group of people who come together to share in this awareness, to share in this journey, to share in the truth of this journey. And it's really valuable. And spiritual seekers all over the world seek out Sangha, places to gather where they can share the energy, where their combined energies can work on each other and really clear up a lot of stuff inside us. You know, when I work with you, one person's transformation ripples out throughout the room and takes care of everybody else. It's an amazing thing. And, you know, it's one of the joys of a class like this is that when you leave the class, so much of you has been repositioned, cleaned out, scrubbed down. It's really healthy to go to a situation where you are in a spiritual environment and a cleansing goes on and a new building and a new spaciousness occurs inside you. It's beautiful. So what happens now that this particular era, if you will, is coming to an end? I mean, this class, there will be 2 more. Which is really painful for me, and of course I know it's very painful for you. That all of us are going to have to be more or less on our own. Now I know there are other people who will be teaching, who can bring classes together, and there are places you can go. So you will not be completely deprived of that opportunity. But let me talk about quickly what you can do to live in Sangha when you don't have a place to go. Because it's really, really important. And I go back to another Rudy teaching, because it's so smart. And you've all heard it, I've said it a lot. Rudy said, you can judge the success of your spiritual life by the happiness of the people around you. Which means, if you're living in an environment with a lot of unhappy people, you're not doing your job. Your job, your work in the world, is to make the people around you happy, content. If you can take the people around you and fill them or make possible a awakening to happiness, the real benefit of that is that you will find yourself living in a happy environment. It's a really smart idea, but it's really hard. How do I make the person closest to me and then a little bit further apart and a little bit further, how do I make them all happy? Well, one way is to find that joy in yourself, to find stillness and I am, and to bring that into the equation. Your stillness, your openness, your love, your forgiveness, your allowing, all of that fills the environment, and the people around you stop feeling judged, put down, belittled, disappointed. All of these things start to change. When you start to say, I could do this to make this person happy. I can do that. And I've described this in earlier talks where I really put this into practice with Blanche, and it had such an incredible sort of aspect to it because she really did get happy. I just started trying to think of the little things I could do. And her happiness was so sweet that I felt wonderful. And we would do these little things for each other, like she does it all the time still. This morning she had my tea ready when I came downstairs. She didn't have to do that, but it just felt good. And she left a bowl in the sink and I washed the bowl. And we do these little tiny things, and they're gestures, but they make for a kind of sweetness in your life. You know, we're going through a lot of stress with the move, and the other day I just felt I had to get angry at somebody, and who was there? You know, the Blanche, and I could feel she didn't deserve it. I just was angry. And I started throwing it at her. And what did Blanche do? She came back to me and said, honey, I know how stressed we are, and it's okay if you have to get angry. I really love you. So that's how it works, guys. That's how you have a spiritual life. You have someone who allows you your crap, and then you do the same, and you create a living Sangha, a space around you that is devoted to the spiritual pursuit of truth, reality, and beauty. And when this is over, you will have to do that. You will have to create your own living space because nobody else will do it for you. And, you know, Rudy did that to us. He just, out of the blue, gone. What do we do? What do we do? And we struggle, all of us struggle to figure out how do we keep this thing going. The thing that's amazing is this is, died in 73. Here we are, 83, 93, 40 years later. And we're still doing it. How do we do it? We just continued. We just kept at it. And you guys are still here. There are people, this picture was at the beginning of this tape. There are people here who've been doing this for 40 years. It's the most beautiful thing. We created it, we made it happen. It's still happening. It's going to continue to happen whether this particular class is here or not. So all I can tell you is find your way to your own Sangha. Find your way to your own truth. Find your way to stillness so that you can know I am. That's what you're looking for. We're all looking for it. It is available, but you have to be persuasive because if you let the guy upstairs, as Rudy would have put it, or the guys upstairs, know that you're serious, they will be serious. They will pay attention. But it's not like you can fool them. You can say, you know, if you give me, you know, $4 million, I will devote 2 of it to charity. You know? They go, yeah. Okay. It doesn't work that way. And it kind of really, I mean, if you really want to know the truth, it's all or nothing. It's all or nothing. Either you're willing to give it your all, or it's not interested. It is not interested in a but. I'll give you this but. Forget it. God knows exactly what that but means. It means there's a me and a you, and there is no me and you. There is only this one phenomenal truth. And you are that phenomenal truth, and you can't lie to it. You can't tell it the untruth, because it knows and is truth. Everything you try to deceive it will deceive nothing except you. And you pay a price. You pay a huge price, because when you get to the end of your life, and this real loss starts to take place, or real pain starts to take place, and you decide to call out to God for the first time in your life, well, I will tell you, if God appears, and I think God does appear in moments of extremity like that, do you recognize God? Will you recognize that the thing that appears has always been there? Do you recognize that the truth was never separate from you? Do you realize that you have been mocking the very thing which is the essence of your existence? It's not a happy discovery. You don't want to find God at the end of your life and realize God has been there every second and you didn't know it. But that's what happens. The thing is, know it now. Know the truth now. This is the truth. You are looking at it, you are breathing it, you are sitting on it, you walk through it, you eat it, you are this. This very thing is the thing you have been looking for from day one, and the only thing that keeps you from seeing it is the computer that makes so much noise that you lose your perspective. Quiet down, center yourself, ask for help to surrender, go deep, be still and know that I am, and you will live in beauty and in truth and in reality. You will have ongoing Sangha every day. You will have the exquisite experience of being alive and aware of it. And that's what spiritual life really is about. It's not separate from this, it is inclusive of the totality. It is the absolute, and that's what we are. And that's what we're here to know, and that's what we're learning as we sit each time, every day, and getting closer and closer to what has never been apart. This is it. This is the truth, period. Any questions?
Yes. I don't know if this is meaningful or not, but you mentioned the computer. At all times, whether sitting or not, I know we watch the computer. Is it also watching us?
Well, I mean, that's kind of a speculative question. It doesn't go anywhere.
Okay. So.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the NSA is watching you. I don't know.
No, I mean, now, like we're sitting, and you have a case of monkey mind, and you're watching your thoughts. You know.
No, the computer is part of the creation.
Oh, okay.
And in that regard, there's an observing quality, an observing truth in all of this, but the computer is not itself animate in doing that. No, the thing that's watching is always present, and it's in every molecule of existence. It's just always there.
So you're talking about the universe.
I'm talking about what you can call the divine.
The source.
Source, God, oneness, whatever name you want to give it. It's always there. You can't fool it. You can't ignore it, although we do all the time. But it's never not present, ever.
Does the color orange have any significance?
Not extraordinarily. I mean, it's the renunciate color in India, and the monks in India, sadhus, all these guys wear orange, and Rudy wore orange. I keep toying with the idea of coming in with a black shirt or something else just to break up the monotony of it. But it's really out of respect to Rudy and the lineage that I wear it. I mean, Nityananda didn't wear it. He wore a diaper. Pardon?
Burning of the ego.
Burning of the ego
orange,
is... Say again?
Burning of the ego, so it's like an orange flame.
Well, that sounds good. I mean, look, I mean, I'm not completely versed in all of that, but I do know that I believe it has great importance in the various traditions, in the Hindu traditions. The Tibetans wear maroon. Everybody has their thing. I'm trying to sustain a kind of specialness of the day, if you will. I'm trying to dress according to what I've been taught. And if you look at the videos, they look like they were all taught the same day. My hair is a little longer, shorter, whatever. But it just is. You can add whatever interpretation you want.
I was just curious, because of orange flowers.
Sure. Yes.
When we're little, we play a game and we say, is it person, place, or thing? And we seem to understand that we are distinct from the places and things. I think we get involved as we get older and become the person, the place, and the thing, and the drama, and we don't realize the drama is here and here we are. And we have the right to step back. And it would be healthy for us to step back, but I know I get to completely swallowed a lot of times in the person, in the things we have, in the places we are, and the significance and the whirlwind that they are when we understand as our primitive selves that we are the person and not everything else around us.
Well, we're really our thoughts. I mean, that's what we identify with. And the thoughts create a story, and then we identify with the story, and I wouldn't do that, or I should do this, and it's all a mind-created event, and then we're interacting with everybody else's story, and those stories converge, or they are conflict, and those stories become this extraordinarily difficult world that we live in, and you have to figure out how caught you want to be by that. In the end, it will all go away, but if you're in a position of clinging to all aspects of that story, they will have to do everything to get you out of it.
Well, not only are we clinging to it, I mean, sometimes I get the notion that it has tentacles and won't let me go either.
No, it's not true.
No, it's not true.
I mean, the tentacles really, it's like Velcro. I mean, they're available to stick, but you're the one you can't get yourself off of it. But if you didn't go to it, it would just be there, and you would be still. And there's enormous tests that go on, enormous tests every day of how free are you. And when you really do spiritual work, you'll get rid of all the superficial stuff pretty quickly. Then it's the fundamental stuff. What are the things? And usually that has to do with your mother, your father. There's buttons that are being pushed. Certain teachers, certain friends. People get you in a way, and they push that button, and every time they push it, you jump. You know, we're all like Pavlov's dog. Every one of us responds to the same stimuli over and over. You have to break that. And the only way to break that is to get conscious and see what you do. It's amazing what we do to each other and to ourselves as a result of our inability to step back. And that's what this is all about. It's learning how to be still, to see the problem and finally just say no to it. Or to see the thought arising that's going to catch you. You know, most of us, we see the thought arising, we look at it and go, it's got us. But you can actually see the thought arising and just go, no, no. And know what happens to a thought when you say no? It goes away, like that. And if you could say no to your thoughts, or just say, I'm not going to engage that one, you will experience a true freedom. Because your thoughts have enormous control over who you are, and they create emotions that have more control. So you have to learn to let that go.
Last week I mentioned where I lived and that it was reality. And after I was driving home, I was thinking about it, and all week I've thought about it a little bit. And I realized the point that I could say, well, what am I supposed to do once it's gone, was when I had at some point before that accepted that it really wasn't mine. I was just, like you just said, borrowing it. And when I got that, I was just, some part of me was like, what comes next? What comes next? And that's what made it all roll.
The question, what comes next, is at the core of our attachment. We are so addicted to the story and the next thing that we forget just to be in this moment. If you can let go of what comes next, the storytelling power of life dissipates. And we have such need for story and knowing what comes next that we can't lose our connection to the world. Real detachment is just not knowing. To be in a state of unknowing and uncertainty and just being and being totally satisfied with that.
Well, that was 30 years ago, so I'm hoping.
Well, that's what's on the agenda for all of us. Every one of us is here because we are pursuing this extraordinary thing called liberation. It's a very rare event. If you look at most people when you go out into the mall or to the supermarket, they're not looking for liberation. They're looking for the cheapest deal they can get on Campbell's soup or something. And they're really obsessed by that. They'll go to 4 stores, you know. But that's not what we're looking for. What we're looking for is so much more essential. And what we're doing in this room at this moment is pursuing that search. If you pursue it with real passion and real commitment, you will get there. Because the universe will say, they're serious. This person's serious. And they start to look, and they, like I say, God isn't fooled. When they know that you're really serious, they're completely there for you. Even if you're just serious on the path, they'll keep opening the doors. Deeper and deeper and deeper. But to truly arrive at that spot, you have to be 100% committed. The only person I ever met in my life who was 100% committed was Rudy. And I think all of us are percentages of that. But it is, the universe is paying attention, that's all I can tell you. You wouldn't be here if it wasn't paying attention. There's truth happening here. You know, there's something going on. And it may not be the ultimate truth, it may not be the ultimate reality, and certainly this isn't the most beautiful face in the world. But there is beauty in all of what's being expressed and in the mere gathering of all of us together. There's something beautiful. And that's what we're looking for. And in a way, it's what we have. We have found it.
Just wanted to add to what you said. All children have this stage in their life when they speak about themselves in the third person. Like I would say, where is Lena? Lena is hiding from mommy and she's behind that tree. Or she would say, Lena's hungry, Lena wants to sleep, Lena's reading a book. So it teaches you that at some point the children understand, this is Lena, and this is me inside Lena, and it's different people. So sometimes the technique works for me. Sometimes I would sit down and think, what's going on with me? Why am I so out of balance? And I'm thinking, Tatiana is suffering. She has problems in her life. But she was here before and she will be there after.
That's a real part. That's one form of real practice. Seeing yourself in the third person. It's very valuable, and people can use that, you know. But it's all still technique.
Yeah.
And it's a good technique, and use anything you can find. What I teach here mostly is energetic, and therefore going into these places that are closed, locked, not functioning completely, and the chakra system really, opening all of that up, feeling this flow, and then you have an entry point into real depth and stillness. And out of that comes so much awareness, including what you just said, with seeing yourself in the third person.
Nityananda called himself this one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know if you heard that. Nityananda called himself this one. A lot of saints, that they do that for a very clear reason. They're no longer identified. They are the thing watching this thing talk.
I often think about Nityananda. What would we say to Nityananda? Well, what's your opinion about this? What's your opinion about that? He'd look at you probably and say, you know, I'm all opinions. I'm no opinions, right? I mean, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Thank you for this big present from me, giving me truth. And I know it is truth because it is go from unconditional love and from the heart. And thank you to be example, sharing with us your experience and your love and your life. That's it.
And you know, I have to say that the only reason I'm sitting here is because of you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you. I mean, that's the only reason I am here. If you weren't here, I wouldn't be sitting here, and this wouldn't be speaking. It would just be inside. So the gratitude goes both ways, and the love goes both ways, and that's what's so extraordinary about this. You know, I don't know how many people love you as much as I love you, and I don't mean Bruce. You know, I mean, truly love you guys, and I mean, I'm always overwhelmed by it when I walk in the room, and I just feel how lucky that I am to be surrounded by people that I love. You know, and so anyway, the gratitude is extraordinary, and it flows every which way. Thank you guys for coming. We have 2 more classes, one next week, and the next one, the last one, will be on October 5th. So, huh? 6th, October 6th. So, I'll see you, I hope, then, and if not, you know, somewhere along the way.